Good evening. So for there are some workability arguments that can be made against the legalization of prostitution in state licensed brothels. My first claim is, or workability argument, is that the legalization of prostitution will fail to protect both prostitutes and clients from physical health risks. My opponents have mentioned that the legalization will decrease physical health risks and reduce crime, but regulating won't necessarily mean that prostitutes will be safer. Prostitutes and legalized brothels are predominantly found in locations where they have higher crime rates, and crime and abuse is often correlated to the location, so it cannot be directly related to prostitution itself, legalized or not. Also, legalized brothels, there are examples in which legalized brothels do not actually protect the prostitutes, and they actually have poor working conditions, hours, and salary. Anastasia Volkansky, in a CBS article, she is also a founder and former project director in the Prevention, Referral, Outreach, Mentoring, and Intervention to End Sexual Exploitation. She says that women working in shifts commonly work as long as 12 hours, even when ill, menstruating, or pregnant, with no right to refuse customer who has requested them, or to refuse the sexual act for which he has paid. So this also argues against their claim that it will actually liberate women and give them more freedom. And also to strengthen my claim, Melissa Farley in Myths and Facts About Legalized Prostitution stated prostitution often ends up done in neighborhoods of poor people who cannot afford the legal battle to keep it away from their homes. So it's obviously predominantly in areas found with more violence. And another workability argument is that they claim that the regulation, if legalized, will prevent or reduce the amount of STDs, but sex causes STDs regardless, and how is legalizing prostitution going to prevent the spread? If the legalization of prostitution does increase the amount of work for them, that means more sex, and that means more spread of STDs. And like my partner had said, when they get screened, it doesn't mean that they're 100% protected from STDs. And also, some disadvantages that we have claimed are that the legalization of prostitution will actually increase the spread of sexually transmitted diseases rather than reduce it. Rick Sowodowski claimed, and he has a doctorate, and he actually studied or researched on brothels legalized in Nevada, had said that we cannot guarantee that any prostitute will ever be free of HIV or AIDS or STDs. and it is also impossible to test for every STD ahead of time. STDs won't immediately show positive on a test, and so legalization would actually increase the spread. It is also said in an article by John Van Bennick. He said that this is true in the case of both legal and illegal prostitution. Prostitutes, because of their many partners, have a greatly increased risk of exposure to HIV. They are likewise able to spread HIV to many other partners. Also, legalization of prostitution will make it difficult for the government to identify sex traffickers. As my opponent actually said, Amsterdam, he mentioned Amsterdam as the police being more familiar with the streets and more on top of regulating crime. But in the Washington Post, Thomas Klein Brockhoff actually had said, because he's from Germany, he said legalized prostitution creates the same problems that legalized marijuana does. While legalized prostitution is legal, forced prostitution is not. Similarly, it is harder to combat underage prostitution, and Amsterdam became a magnet for human traffickers, drug traders, and petty criminals. And he also claims that it's harder to regulate sex traffickers when it's being enabled. And legalization of prostitution will also devalue real estate, as I had previously mentioned, and legalization of prostitution demeans the rights and values of women, which was also stated by my opponent. Thank you.